Alright, so let's talk about some Android and CES news. According to the Android developers blog, more than 50% of Android devices are now running Froyo. In the latest 2-week survey of devices accessing the Android marketplace, 51.8% of them were running 2.2, while only 0.4% were running 2.3. Now there's only one device as far as I know that runs Gingerbread at this point, so 0.4% of all of the Android devices accessing the market are Nexus S, so that's pretty cool. However, if you look at the graph over the last few months, it shows a significant decline in the 1.5 and 1.6 Android versions out there, while 2.1 is staying pretty steady in the 30% range. And like I said before, 2.2 is obviously increasing in popularity. And speaking of the Android marketplace, it looks like Amazon is taking a foray into the app market. They're going to be creating their own marketplace. Now this is going to take the same kind of APK files that the traditional marketplace does. This just gives Amazon a chance to get their hands into the pot. There's no exclusivity required, so if you want to put your apps into both markets, you can. The developers are still going to get 70% of the price of their apps, while Amazon gets that other 30%. That's a pretty standard split. However, Amazon does retain the right to change the prices on the app, so they could make your app free, they could make it as cheap as they want to make it, but they do guarantee that you will get at least 20% of the list price if they drop the price or if they make it free. There's going to be a $99 fee per year to develop for it, but it's waived for the first year. Now the questions I do have there, is this going to fragment the market? Is the Amazon marketplace going to be available on all devices? And it looks like there's going to be more of a screening process, more like Apple's, where you're going to be screening out porn and illegal activity type things. From where I'm sitting, the more places to get apps from, the better. From a developer standpoint, I can see there being a bit of an issue. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Moving right along, in the wake of the announcement that Netflix is going to be coming to Android, Hulu has announced they're bringing their Hulu Plus service to select Android devices. Hulu's blog says that Hulu Plus will be coming to select Android devices in the coming months, with no official launch date or device list available at this point. And let's move on to the CES news. This will be the bulk of the video. Now Motorola announced a few new devices at CES, but 3 definitely stood out. These 3 all were running a dual-core 2 GHz processor, which is 2 times 1 GHz, and they all have front and rear-facing cameras. The first device, the Zoom tablet, is a 10.1-inch tablet that's running Android 3.0. It comes with built-in 3G that will be upgradable to 4G in the future, and it's going to be running on Verizon. In addition, the Atrix 4G was announced. It has 1 GB of RAM in addition to that dual-core processor and is being touted as the world's most powerful smartphone. And there'll be a docking accessory to sort of turn it into a laptop or a desktop, and the UI will change accordingly. And the last big device they announced was the Droid Bionic, which has got 512 megs of RAM instead of 1 gig. It's got that same dual-core processor, but it's going to come on Verizon. If I forgot to mention it, the Atrix is going to be on Bell Canada only. Now all 3 of these devices should be available in the first half of 2011, but not yet. Now Vizio, a company traditionally known for making TVs, announced at CES that they were going to be putting out 3 new devices, 2 of them that are Android-based and 1 running Google TV, which is Android. They're calling this the Via Plus ecosystem, and they're all supposed to work kind of interchangeably with each other. The phone and the tablet are going to come with IR interfaces that should be able to act as a universal remote for up to 90% of electronic devices. So it is very cool to see one company that would traditionally only deal with TVs jumping into the Android marketplace with a slew of new devices. And speaking of a slew of devices, Asus announced that they were going to be putting out 3 new tablets in the very near future. The first one, releasing in April of this year, is called the ePad Transformer. It has a 10.1-inch IPS display, the NVIDIA Tegra 2 dual-core processor, and it has a docking station available that adds a QWERTY keyboard, making it sort of look like a laptop. This one's going to be available for $399. In addition, the ePad slider is coming in May. It's got the same 10.1-inch IPS display and Tegra 2 processor, but instead it's got a slide-out keyboard, so you've got it all contained in one and you don't have to buy an additional accessory. That one's going to be $499. And finally, the ePad Mimo. This is a 7-inch device with a 1.2 GHz Qualcomm dual-core processor, and it's going to be released in June for $499. These will all be running Android Honeycomb 3.0 and will have front and rear-facing cameras. Now let's move along to Samsung, because there's a lot to talk about there. Now before CES, a couple of companies decided they were going to start dropping the price on the Galaxy Tab. Verizon, for example, dropped it from $599 to $499. Now if you've purchased a Galaxy Tab from Verizon in the past couple of weeks, you can go back to them and get a $100 refund. In addition, according to tabletpcreview.com, Sprint has dropped the price of the Galaxy Tab at Best Buy to $299. As long as you sign up for a 2-year agreement, of course. However, I checked it on bestbuy.com's website, it's showing $399 with that 2-year $30 a month agreement. But I haven't had a chance to run to the store yet to see if they're actually doing $299 there or not. So if you have a Best Buy near you and you're interested in a Galaxy Tab, definitely go there, check it out, see what the pricing is, and let me know what it is in the comment section below. Now, why are all these places dropping the price of the Galaxy Tab? Well, at CES, Samsung has announced that the Galaxy Tab 4G is coming to Verizon in the next few months. This is going to be the same as the original Tab, but it's going to have a 1.2 GHz processor instead of a 1 GHz, and of course it's going to be 4G instead of 3G, and it's got a 5 megapixel rear-facing camera instead of the traditional 3.2 that's in the existing Tab. And while they were there, Samsung announced they were bringing new 4G devices to AT&T and Verizon. The specs on them are pretty similar to existing devices on the market, except they're both coming with 4.3 to 4.5 inch Super AMOLED screens. HTC had a very similar showing to Samsung in terms of phones. They're releasing the Shift on Sprint, which should be out in a couple of days, the Inspire 4G on AT&T, the Thunderbolt on Verizon, and the specs on all of them are, again, pretty similar to what's already out there. And finally, LG announced a couple of devices. They announced on Verizon they're going to be releasing the Revolution, with no real specs discussed for it yet. And their big announcement was the Optimus 2X, which had no carrier information for it available yet, but it's going to be running a Tegra 2 1 GHz chip. Anyway, that is all of the Android and CES type news for today. If you haven't seen it already, Google's Android Developers Channel put out a video on Android 3.0 that's coming soon. And of course, if you're interested in watching either of the other videos, click the annotation I'll have here. You can go back to the main video and watch the general Linux news or the Ubuntu news. But if this is the last video for you, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.